Eskimo Brothers reviews movie number 25, Planet of the Apes from 1968. To give a brief synopsis, I'm Shadow Man.
My name is Soyboy Beta Cuck 69.
AKA My Little Cute Pupper.
That is also accurate.
Anyway, to get through the damn preliminaries, the brief synopsis is a crew of astronauts lands on a strange planet where apes are the dominant species and human beings are more animalistic and are mute. And adventures ensue. It's based off of a French novel, which I will not try to pronounce, or the author's name. It's Pierre something. And
Sounds right.
some of the differences, apparently in the novel, the ape civilization was more modern and not less Flintstones looking.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently it was going to be cheaper to make it more primitive. So that was the route they took. That was the main difference, and I think the ending is different as well. I love this movie. I think it's a great, especially for the time. I think it's really well done. The makeup effects are top tier. Every time I watch this, I think the makeup's not going to impress me as much this time. And every time I see it, this looks amazing. What did you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Maybe not as much the makeup as that. Well, the makeup's not terrible, actually.
Just
now that I think about it.
The amount of facial movements they could do.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can see them smile, they can sniff stuff, they can really show emotion without talking.
Yeah.
It's really impressive.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, that is pretty accurate. Especially for 1968. Now, if something like this came out today, it would be considered like an indie type film,
Yeah.
like low budget. But yeah, it was. It's definitely one of the better movies of the 1900s. Yeah, I would say I would agree with all that. It's a great. It's perfect for the late 60s because it's got the science fiction kind of thing. It's got space travel, which was very common and well, not very common, but in the 1960s. But when you have the U.S. going to the moon, when you have the space race, you have Star Trek and things like that in this era. That's it's perfect for it.
It's probably the first really big hit for science fiction. Because usually science fiction movies back then were more like B movies.
Oh yeah.
This is probably the first really
like
serious,
a blockbuster type.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
had a
for sure.
big budget and I don't know. Other than King Kong.
Right. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's got a good story. It's got pretty good acting. It's pretty easy to follow as well. So you don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be an adult. You could be a kid, teen, trying to watch it, and you'd still be interested in learning about this whole thing. And it's really enjoyable. So 100% I'd recommend it if you people haven't seen it before. It's really nice.
I liked how the astronauts on their suits, it doesn't say NASA. They switched the A and the N, so it says ANSA.
Oh. I did notice that. I didn't know if they were gonna mention it later, if there was something, but it was a similar style too.
Mm-hmm. It's like they tried to, they must not have had permission to use it, so maybe they won't notice.
Yeah, it's so in the beginning, it is pretty easy to follow and understand, and there's a slow development of it because I guess you could say that these astronauts go to this planet and they're trying to they're explorers. They're trying to like figure out about this planet, and so you, the viewer, are learning the same time they are learning. So there's not like enough. There's not a whole lot of like hidden stuff. It's like what you see, they also see. Like what you know, they know. So you kind of grow along with the characters, like trying to figure out, all right, this is this is this planet, and this is what's on it. What's the deal with this? What's going on here? And you learn as much as they do. The the one thing I did notice though, when they get to this planet, they're not as attentive as I feel like I would be if I was an explorer and I spent these years, hundreds of years technically in space, and you get to this planet and they're kind of just seems to be like walking in a straight line, trying to get to some location. But if it were me, I'd be like looking everywhere. I'd be up, down, around, behind me, because I would want to know like what's this planet? I mean, what's this planet? What's this whatever rock?
Maybe if it's afraid of any kind of life form.
Yeah.
There's a part right at the beginning where they find like a plant, because it's pretty barren where they first land, and the first thing they do is start touching it. Like you would be doing tests, and because they had equipment for soil tests and all kinds of stuff. Like I wouldn't be touching that until.
Yeah, they just pick it up. Like who knows what it could be? Like there's no idea of if it's poisonous to you. Like if it's a carbon-based life form like you're used to. It could somehow come to life and eat you. Who knows? But they're just like, I'm just gonna grab it, and so that's a little off-putting, a little strange by these alleged explorers, and maybe they're not like the best scientists, but but no, they do. Besides that, it's pretty nice. It's pretty good.
And being from the late '60s, it has both the pros and the cons of a movie of that era, of where like everything you see on the screen actually happened. It's not made with a computer.
Yeah.
So when you see a guy jump and fall, someone jumped and fell.
Which I didn't make a comment on that because this guy had to break his legs. Like, there's a scene where some people like jump from a pretty good, probably like 20 feet-ish, onto like sand and into water, and it's like, that's painful.
Yeah.
Like, that's not good.
So someone actually did that, but then of course there's the goofier visual and audio of the time of, bright red paint for blood. It's like, it's not even close. And the filter over this lens on the camera to make it nighttime.
Yeah.
And then they got clear, really bright, or dark shadows.
Yeah.
Like, the moon's not that bright to make that. That's not what nighttime looks like.
Yeah, that's that was rough. That was hard. But again, it's the 1960s. So
yeah, you gotta take it.
What do you expect? Like people loved it probably back
judge
then.
it by the context of the times.
Yeah, there were plenty of odd sound effects that were going on, which is the 1960s, like almost like not as bad as the Batman pow, kablam, stuff like that, but it is like pretty blatant. Like, all right, that's a little like too loud, that's inaccurate, like a punch wouldn't sound like that, things like that.
Yeah. One of the worst, as far as the audio, one of the worst ones I thought was towards the beginning. It does like a quick close-up of someone dead, and there's a cat screeching.
What was that?
There's no cats in the whole movie.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like an alarming, like, oh, shock.
You hear
but
this
it's like,
cat
what is
screech.
that sound? That doesn't make sense. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It does have some really interesting and different ways it's filmed in the beginning, on their little trail or on their way to find whatever they're looking for. A handful of times it goes into a first-person view, and so like if someone's running, it'll kind of shake like that to make it seem like they're running, when they are landing, it does seem like it kind of replicates like something landing. Like you'll see the ship like go on its back and roll and then come back and like dive. So that's really good visual because it kind of makes you feel almost like you're involved in the story. So yeah, things like that really helped out. Plus, just the overall landscape too with the colors, I really like those. So that whole thing kind of brings you into the the scene, like where these characters are being, this whole entire film. So that's a good way to get the audience involved in the film too.
Before they made this into a movie, Rod Serling had the rights to it and tried to make it into a Twilight Zone episode, and does get partial credit for writing the movie. It's, from what I read, they're not quite sure what he contributed and what he didn't, but the ending is very much like the ending of a Twilight Zone episode.
Right, yeah.
So I would guess that part at least.
For sure. It's got... Oh yeah, back onto like the visual, I would say it's got some really good, like the set design, like you'd find in the 1960s. There's no CGI stuff. It's actual like people built this set, and so the different rooms that the characters are in look different, but they also look like oddly familiar. So I think that that really helps out with the film too, because it makes you feel. I mean, it's like a 1960s set, so it'll be kind of similar to. I don't want to say similar to like Star Trek, but when they go to different planets, they have the same kind of thing. Like they'll set up rooms or boulders or whatever like that, landscapes. So.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that looks.
Every
looks
planet
really nice.
looks like California. Weird.
That is strange. When it comes to, what he mentioned, like the plot of the film, there is. It kind of shows how it would be if the shoe was on the other foot. So, it's like humans are like a lesser race, and the greater apes are the greater race. So you have like the roles are kind of switched. So besides that obvious thing, there is also plenty of like cultural differences as well. Whereas like the orangutans might be the best of them, whereas they might think that gorillas, chimpanzees, and the other ones might be not as good. So kind of similar, like going to human beings, like, hey, this group of people may think that they're better than this other group of people for whatever reason. So it kind of dives into that as well in the late 60s.
Yeah, they seem to have like different classes of
Yeah.
like, where the orangutans would be more like a government kind of thing in charge.
Mm-hmm.
And gorillas would be more like a military, do the grunt work.
Yeah.
And chimpanzees are more like into arts and science,
Yeah.
and kind of looked down upon from the other two.
Yeah.
It is, and also kind of an interesting commentary on the way we treat animals.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
That's
could you
true.
think of because if this did happen, like if like a chicken just started talking, the planet would be like, what the fuck? We'd be freaking out. And it's amazing how much a difference just talking could do. Like if the chickens talked, we wouldn't be eating them.
Right, yeah, because you might think that us as humans think like, oh, this chicken, this cow, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But if it started to respond to you in speech, you're like, wow, this is an intelligent thing. Like, so you can just imagine like how crazy, like just a simple thing like communication and the ability to understand each other could completely like flip things around. That's wild to think of.
We got a few other nitpicks here. It's called Planet of the Apes, but you don't see a whole lot of the planet. You basically see one village.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Should be called Village of the Apes. You have no idea what's going on in the rest of the planet. It doesn't tell you. Like, they could just somehow explain the rest of it's just nothing, or barren, or whatever, but they don't.
Yeah.
It's just not even mentioned. You notice all the female apes are all chimps? There's no female gorillas or orangutans. At least not that they
That's true.
show.
I think there might have been.
Or none of them have speaking roles, at least.
Yeah, there might have. I think there was a female gorilla, but she didn't say anything. She was holding the little one's hand.
Oh,
In
yeah.
that little, like, lecture hall, I guess you could say.
She
Or,
screamed.
like, church thing. Yeah. Like, that was the one case where I recognized that. But, yeah, no, to me it seemed like, yeah, primarily male.
I got one more nitpick before we get into spoiler territory.
Yeah, before we get into the deep stuff.
The character Zira has a nephew, and at one point just blatantly has him doing something very dangerous that, like, he has no business being a part of. Why would you endanger your nephew like that?
Well, you know, you might not love all your family members. I don't know. It can be difficult at times. Yeah. So now the big part for the 2% of the population who has not seen this film from the 1960s, which is a classic, by the way, and you should have seen it. If you haven't, I'll just recommend it at least one more time. Just go watch it. It's pretty good.
Especially if you don't know the ending.
Yeah.
If you don't know it, you gotta watch it before it gets ruined for you.
Yeah. So, like, just pause this. I think there's a pause button down here in the corner. Press that, go watch the film, and then you can finish watching it. If you wish. I don't care.
Okay. So, now that we've got the clear warning, I don't want any bitching now that we gave away. But there's quite a few things, if you think about it, that should have given him away that he was on Earth the whole time. There's horses, there's guns, they speak English,
Yes.
they have fire hoses, which the amount of technology seems inconsistent. They have fire hoses, but they have no, like, a paper airplane blew their minds.
Yeah.
Like, they've never thought of flying.
Very confused.
But when you shoot a gun, you know, propulsion,
projectiles.
and it falls gradually.
Yeah.
So that has to have at least been a passing thought.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to think, like, the weapons that they have, like...
When did fire hoses come out?
I don't know, but...
Did that come out around the same time as cars?
Probably. Yeah, probably, yeah, maybe 50s, 40s, 1950s, 40s, something like that, possibly, maybe earlier. I'm not sure, but yeah, that is kind of strange. And they, yeah, there's just so many weird things like that have, like, those inconsistencies. But also, like, these astronauts are breathing the air too. So
Well, they made sure before they got out of the ship, they could.
oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, when, like, the water was coming in, he yelled one of them to check the atmosphere
Oh,
to
okay.
make sure. I don't know why. Like, you can't stay in the water.
yeah,
you
yeah.
gotta try.
You're gonna drown, so.
I wouldn't even thought about it.
Yeah, there was the first thing that I noticed was that so at the end, for those that have not seen, the main character is walking along the beach, or riding a horse along the beach, and then he sees the Statue of Liberty, which we all know to be in New York City. And me, I've seen this once before many years ago, so I already knew the ending. Upon watching this again, like when this craft landed, their spaceship landed, the geographic formations just don't line up with the amount of time that they've been gone. So which leads me to believe either the Statue of Liberty has been moved from New York City to somewhere else, which could be in the next film or the film after that in the series. I don't know. Maybe they discuss it. Probably not. But so either the Statue of Liberty moved, or yeah, that's the only thing that because in I want to say it was like 2,000 years or so.
Yeah, it was roughly 2,000
from their present day.
I think he said 2,000, give or take a decade.
Yeah,
I'm sure if you pause the movie, you can figure out, because it shows what year it is for them and what year it was on Earth.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm sure there's somewhere someone knows exactly how much time has passed.
Yeah. So
But he said 2,000 years, give or take a decade.
I'm not the brightest.
After 1,000 years, what does it matter? You're way in the future.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
And I'm not, a complete genius when it comes to geography or geology or anything like that. But I can tell you, in 2,000 years, the Earth is not going to make those formations at all. Like, period. It's going to take a lot longer than that. A lot longer.
It was probably filmed like in Malibu.
Yeah, it's yeah. So
cliffs right there by the ocean.
There's no chance. I promise you that. So yeah, so that was pretty odd. And then there was a scene with they showed a map, and the main character is like trying to figure out, but where he is, and like he showed like where he landed and where he is now, but in the beginning scenes, they were walking with like the sunset to one side, but that would not match up with the line of direction he was referring to on the map, so that's all weird and odd. But yeah, that's that was like a weird thing that I didn't really understand. That was another, I guess, nitpick of mine.
One of the other interesting things with the ending, Charlton Heston actually had to argue for that ending because they weren't quite sure what it would be, like how much of the Statue of Liberty they're going to show and what is he going to say. They wanted to cut him saying, "God damn you," because taking the Lord's name in vain in a G movie. But he actually argued that he's like, no, that's not what he's doing. He's actually asking God to damn them.
Yeah? Yeah, he was quite a dick to his crewmates, too. As soon as they landed, that was a funny thing. He was like, yeah, everyone you know is dead. What do you think about that, guy? How do you feel? And he just kept going on with it. He's like, hey, other guy, everyone's dead. Did you know that? Cool. And they're like, all right, dude, we get it. Relax. Chill out.
I agree. He was great in this movie.
I don't think I have anything else in regards to this film besides just watch it.
Yeah, I think the same from me. Well, I guess we'll see you for the next movie.
Yeah,
which
episode
is
26.
Yes, 26. And we're gonna watch the sequel, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Yeah. Now, how the fuck can you make a sequel to this movie?
I don't know, but I'm guessing they're gonna like start mining and like dig down to the center of the earth somehow. We're gonna go like back. They're gonna like reverse the earth and go back like 2,000 years. That's pretty much what's gonna happen. So you guys don't even have to watch that second film. I pretty much told you. Yeah. So that's what it is. Yeah.
We'll find out next time if he's right. See you later.
Well.